guys, welcome back to my channel. You're in a safe place and you are watching Food for Thought with Barbara Cooking-Diva. Yeah, that's right, that's me. I've always wanted to do a show that takes on the four major F's in my life and perhaps your life too. That's faith, family, finance, and of course, food. I'm a certified, classically trained culinary nutritionist and chef, and I bring you nuggets of goodness through enriching conversation with some dear friends of mine who are all different professionals in their own rights, as we talk about the major F's in our life. November is National Men's Health Month, and I feel it's only appropriate that I close this month out with my special guest this evening to talk about issues that challenge men, in particular, cancer. Joining me on the couch today is none other than my best friend, the love of my life, my partner, my RCP, my husband, Donovan. Honey, join me on the couch.
All right, hello everyone.
Hi. So today we want to discuss a topic that hits close to home for our family. You're here to share your story with us, and we've never talked about this publicly before. But last year, our family was touched and challenged by this deadly disease, cancer. And November being the month recognized for men's health, we thought it was important to sit down and share the story about how my husband's health was challenged last year when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. First of all, honey, I want to thank you for agreeing to sit down and have this public conversation. I know your story will help someone who is going through dealing with that diagnosis currently, someone who's going to be diagnosed, a man who's going to be diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I want you to share with our viewers what it felt like the first time you got the diagnosis. Maybe I should back up a little bit. Tell us about what we normally do every year before we go back out to school, which is to go and get our physical done. So start from there.
All right, so normally before we go back out to school, we would normally go do a checkup during the summer before back in school. So last year, like normal, we went and we did our checkup, and after getting back my result, the doctor told me that my PSA level was elevated. So, I asked him, what does that mean? So what happened when you go to do your checkup, you give your blood.
The PSA is done with a simple blood test?
Yes. Okay. So the PSA is done with a blood test. What PSA mean is prostate specific antigen. So when the doctor did the test, gave me back the result, it told me that my PSA level was elevated. So what he does, he recommended me to a urologist, right? Recommended me to a urologist, and when I went into the urologist, he did the test. He did a test, and when he done the test, he said, okay, My prostate is enlarged, so he need me to do
So
it.
just so that you understand, and I know this is something that a lot of men, especially men from the Caribbean, men, African American men, whom, by the way, this disease, I'm going to give you some statistics on how this disease affect men, but in particular African American men. So 1 in 9 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. 1 in 9. 1 in 7 African American male will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. And 1 in 41 men will die. So it's the good news about this disease, before we continue, is that early detection is key. And the success rate of men living successfully after either surgery or having treatment, chemotherapy, can survive, thrive, and do well. So I want you to take us back to when you went to do your physical, because this is so important. Men, you have to go to the doctor. And an annual physical, at the age of 40, they will start to do a PSA. It is a test that just looks for the antigen from the prostate. But when you went and saw the urologist, he also did a physical exam. Now, the physical exam, it is uncomfortable, right?
Yes, it's a very uncomfortable exam for me, but for men in general. I know African American men, they don't love go to the doctors. I don't know why. Maybe we think we're a bit too macho, or I don't know why. But what happened when the urologist tests you? What he does is actually to insert his finger inside your anal, all the way just to test the prostate. Now, when he feels the prostate, he can tell whether or not it is enlarged. Now, once it is enlarged, then he recommends a biopsy. The biopsy is actually to remove tissues from the prostate, where they can take it to a lab and do a test on it to see whether or not the cancer is there.
All right. So we want to just slow this part down because it's a process. So first, do your physical. Every year, go get a physical done. Get the PSA done. And that will tell you whether your levels are elevated or not. And if they are elevated, then you will be recommended to see a urologist who would do a physical examination. And from that will determine whether or not further diagnostic testing needs to be done. In your case, you had an enlarged prostate, so there was further diagnostic that needed to be done, and it's a biopsy, where, as he said, tissue is removed from the prostate to check to see if the cells are cancerous. Now, talk about the experience of getting the biopsy. What was that like? Because a lot of times, as you said, men are afraid to go to the doctor, especially African American men, but quite frankly, I think it's men in general. But more so African American men, men from the Caribbean as well, because there's a lot of stigma attached to, especially the way this examination is done. And so we want people to know that although this may be uncomfortable, it is so important that we begin to become informed and break past some of the stereotypes and some of the cultural taboos associated with getting our checks done. This is too important. So tell us your experience when you were doing the biopsy. How was the biopsy, and how did you feel as a man going through that part of it?
All right, so it was a very uncomfortable experience. Um, when they put you on that table, and you have to turn to the side. So you're on your side, and
How did you feel?
it was a lot of pain and an uncomfortable experience. But I went through the process, and after everything is done, they remove the amount of tissue they wanted. Um, they took it to a lab and do a test on it, and I went back for the result.
What was the feeling and the emotion that you experienced during the time when you waited for the results? Because I can tell you it was the longest 2 weeks of my life. One of the things I want to point out, and we want to share also, when your spouse is diagnosed with any life-altering medical condition, your support as the partner, as the spouse, is so very important. And I mean, going to those doctor visits, being there for those major results. Because a lot of times when someone is going through this medical condition, whatever it is, they need an advocate. They need someone who can ask the question, because they're sometimes so consumed with just the result, hearing that you're diagnosed with cancer is such a big thing. I mean, you want to make sure that you're asking the right questions, looking at all your options. So being there for your spouse is such an important part of the process, because they need someone there for them to ask some of the questions that they may not think of asking at the time, and being there for them. Was that something you found that was helpful when you were going through the stages?
Yes, having someone there is very helpful. But before we get into that, so when I went back for the test, the result of the test, before I went in for the result, you kind of wonder, what's gonna happen? What is gonna be the outcome of the result? But you're not thinking. You're telling yourself there's a possibility you may have cancer, but there's a possibility you may not. So the news, you're not thinking nothing much until you go in and the doctor finally tell me that the result came back and they found cancer. So I have cancer. That's when it start hitting home. And after he did a lot of explaining and so forth, and then I went home, then it hit home even harder.
I remember the ride home from the doctor. I knew that for him, hearing this from the doctor was going to be a little bit different from how I was receiving and processing it. Because it's one thing when you are the one who has been diagnosed with a life-threatening disease, and the spouse. The response is slightly different. It's devastating, it's shocking, but I knew that it was also important for me immediately to transform and not just being his wife, but to be his advocate and to help him process the emotion in a very positive and a very matter-of-fact way. So we weren't going to make any determination about anything until we had all the facts. And as we got the facts, we would process them and make decision there. But I remember our ride home from the doctor, we made a decision that we were going to deal with this in a very positive way, no matter what. Because one of the things that we were concerned about is at what stage. After we did the biopsy, had it metastasized? Was it in the early stages? And so we had to wait to hear that. But we decided that we were going to deal with this in a very positive way, and whatever it is that we had to do in terms of treatment or surgery, that we were going to look at the positive side of it, even if the result and the news that came back wasn't positive. We were going to find a way to deal with this in a positive way. What happened next when we went back to hear about whether it had metastasized or not?
Okay, so when I went back, so as I said earlier, we were a little bit worried.
A lot worried.
I didn't want it to get to me too much. So my next thought, is, okay, I have this, I have cancer. No, I need to get rid of it. That's my next focus. I have it, no, I need to get rid of it. So we went back, and the doctor told me what the stage was. It was intermediate.
Meaning it was early.
Right. It was early. So we if it wasn't for the doctor checkup that you guys, you need to do this once every year. You need to go to the doctor. You need to do your checkup. That's very important.
Get that physical done every year.
So because that's the reason it was caught early, and so the next stage is to get the surgery done.
This is where research comes in, wouldn't you say?
Right.
So now we needed to find the best doctor who had the most experience in doing the surgery. And so we began to do our research. We also got several referrals, and we began to research these doctors. So this is the next stage. So you have your physical, you have a suspicious or an elevated PSA that leads to a urologist, which is a specialist. Upon a physical examination, there's an enlargement in the prostate, which requires further diagnostic in the way of a biopsy. The biopsy results are back, and it indicates the stage that the cancer is in. So now you're given several options. You could treat with chemo, you could treat with radiation, you could treat with surgery. Because your stage was at the intermediate stage, it was early, essentially, surgery was the best option for you. So now you have to find out who is the best at doing the surgery. You need to find a doctor who has done many of these kinds of surgeries, so that you know that they have the man-hour time on doing these surgery and have the experience. You also need to meet the doctors and interview them so that you feel comfortable with the person who is going to be doing the surgery. So we were given 3 doctors, one in Orlando, one here in Miami, Mount Sinai Medical Center, And so we went and we did an interview, and then we went to interview the doctor in Miami at Mount Sinai. Now, he happens to be the director of robotic surgery in Mount Sinai and specialized in doing this kind of surgery. So talk about that experience when we met with Dr. Bandari.
Right. So we met with Dr. Bandari, and he, talking to him and the way he relayed the whole thing.
Honey, can I just stop you here?
Right.
Listen, this man pulled out a piece of paper and drew the male reproductive system, outlined, identified where the cancer was, the nerve that was under the cancer, told us in drawing an explanation in lay terms how he was going to do the surgery. When I saw that, as an educator, I felt good, because anybody who can explain something in lay terms, technical things, and pull out a drawing, you know that that person did well in school. Continue, honey. I just had to say that because for me, I was really impressed with that, and I felt comfortable that we were going to be in good hands.
Yes. So when he explained, he outlined it, and the way he really relayed to us, I actually felt comfortable with this doctor doing the surgery. Fear was removed. You know, whatever little fear was there, you know, although you try to cover it up and say, you know, the fear is still there. And when he explained everything to me, I felt so comfortable. I stopped worrying. You know, I am set. I am ready to go and have this surgery done. Now, this particular surgery, what the doctor used was robotic surgery, and robotic surgery is
Less invasive.
yes, it's less invasive. It's like mechanics. They insert.
Right, with very tiny incision.
Exactly.
They're able to make very small incisions in the abdomen, the lower abdomen, and the robot takes over and
go inside and remove the entire prostate. So again, we went for the surgery.
So the first visit to the doctor for the physical was August. We were able to get a date in October, which...
Right, in October for the surgery. So we went down to Mount Sinai Medical Center in Alton Road, Miami Beach, and that's where the surgery is done. It took about how many hours again? Maybe?
The surgery took about 6 hours. It was successful. I was relieved when Dr. Bandari came out and spoke to me and told me that everything was fine. A lot of sensitive nerve. They were able to manipulate and go around them, so there was no nerve damage there. And that the recovery, because of the robotic surgery, the recovery time was much less than if they had done a traditional surgery. So talk about the recovery part of it. Not only from the physical perspective in terms of the pain, but talk about the emotional, and just give a timeline as to gradually how you started to feel better physically, emotionally, all those things. Because let's face it, you know, when you're diagnosed with any illness, it not only affects you physically, but it affects you emotionally as well. So talk about that part.
So after the surgery, before I came home, before they sent me home, I can remember feeling a lot of pain, and the doctor, they wanted me to do some walking before they actually let me leave the hospital. But the pain I was feeling is as if I don't really want to do much moving at all. I just want to lay and relax. However, I had to do the walk. So they have me walking around the hospital just to stretch my leg and, you know, make sure everything is okay before they let me out. So after the walk-in and they check and they said, okay, everything seems fine, I can be released. And so we went home. They explained to us that the process is going to take about 2 weeks before I can do anything. So we came home and went through a 2-week process.
Right. So that includes very minimal physical activity, just getting out of bed each morning. At this stage, the person really needs a lot of hands-on care. Just checking. For me, I was concerned with managing the pain with the medication that the pain medication that the doctor had sent us home with, but also just monitoring how he was feeling emotionally and mentally as well, and watching the progression of that. Each day it got a little better. You would get out of bed a little bit more,
Right.
walk around a bit more, and I think the time frame that they'd given us in terms of when he would be able to go back to normal activity, going back to work, was the 2 weeks really panned out for you. I think at the end of the 2 weeks, you started to feel a whole lot better, feel more like yourself, and that you could actually go out to work. So this is one thing we want you to know, that with early detection and the treatment modality, whatever decision you take in terms of what kind of treatment that you're going to go through, whether it's surgery, whether it's radiation or chemotherapy, whatever you and your doctor decide is the best treatment for you, there's stages, and each stage as it goes along, you will see that the time frame that the doctors give you are oftentimes pretty much on the mark. So we've gone through the surgery, we came home, did the 2 weeks, started to feel better. We were even able to travel in November. We had a trip planned, and we said, we're gonna approach this so positively that we're not making any changes to our travel plan. We're gonna just wait and see how this plays out. But I'll tell you this, that you haven't mentioned yet, but I know it played a very important part of dealing with this whole process. Your faith is such an important part of how you deal with any challenge in life. And there were many times when I was praying secretly about just giving us the strength, giving you the strength to just go through this and get on the other side of this, because sometimes you have to just surrender and leave everything to God. And I know my faith played a big role in how we were able to get through this together. Want to talk about that?
All right. So when no matter what you're going through, no matter what struggle or what stumbling block come towards you, don't let it get you down. Don't let it hold you down. You know, faith in God is number one. You know, it's very important to have faith, to have trust, believe in God, because He will see you through any circumstances, any situation. Put it to Him first. Don't go through this alone. Don't go through it alone. Make sure you have someone with you. Seek counseling or join a group. At the end of the day, tell your sons encourage someone, tell another brother, let them know about this disease, um, prostate cancer. Let them know about it. Talk to them about it. Let them know. Um, make sure you're exercising. Make sure you eat well. Um, is this gonna stop you from getting the disease? It's a start. It's a step. Eating well, exercising, and so forth. These are just steps.
Before we close out this interview, I want you to give our viewers just a recap from the importance of getting your physical, following up, not allowing fear to hold you back when you hear maybe devastating news. Some people are crippled by the fear. They don't want to go any further. They don't want to find out anything more. It is between life and death. And the rate of success with treatment of this disease is very, very high for men. And so follow up. Do the things that is necessary to take care of your health. So just give some pointers from start to finish to close out. Someone who may recently have been diagnosed, someone who's going to be diagnosed but don't know it, and someone who has been diagnosed and they're going through it, and they may be at one of the stages that you had gone through right now. Speak to them.
Right. So once you do your PSA and you find out that your PSA level is elevated, and you go and you do your biopsy by a urologist. Now, if your test come back and it is cancerous, you have cancer, don't stress too much. Don't worry too much. Have faith.
Inform yourself.
Right. Have faith. Put your trust in God, and tell yourself, listen, I can get over this. Get the surgery done. Once you get the surgery done, be patient, because then it's a long road to recovery. So you have to be patient and follow the rules and the regulation that the doctor lay out. Certain exercise that you have to do after surgery to build back your reproductive organ. Right. So don't be stressed about it. Make up your mind. Go to the doctor, guys. It's very important. Do your checkup once every year. Make sure you have a checkup done. Because if you do not have a checkup and say you have this disease, you have prostate cancer, if you do not have a checkup and it's there, it can go to a late stage where the possibility of you living is less, so make sure you go do that checkup each year, guys, and be patient. If you have the cancer, you get your surgery, go through the process post surgery, and just be patient and do your exercises that you're going to be doing to make sure your reproductive organ come back to what it was before or close to what it was before.
Yes, and that's something, that's a whole different show, talking about how do you recover your sexual feeling, and just potence and performance after a surgery like that. And there are a lot of things that you can do. Many times men are very bashful about even talking about the idea of losing any sexual function, but there's a lot of recovery. There's a lot of process. There are a lot of things, exercises that you use, devices that you use, and believe me, they work. And so let not your life be dominated by the fear of something, but be empowered, be informed, and be encouraged. Get that information, do your research, ask questions, and get an advocate, whether it's your spouse or a close family member, someone that you can rely on, who can sometimes take over some of the stress and the burden that come, because sometimes it does. We're all human. Sometimes you really feel overwhelmed, but knowing that you have a strong partner who can be there for you and with you and be your advocate does take a lot of the pressure and the burden off of you. But if we leave you with nothing, we want to say, go get yourself checked, get a physical done every year, and at age 40, the doctors start doing the PSA test. If they tell you that the PSA is elevated, go and do your follow-up test. It could save your life. I hope you find this informative. I know it was a lot for you to share, but I'm glad because I know this will help someone. A friend shared with me many years ago that he had experienced a prostate cancer diagnosis and walked me through his whole experience long before this ever came to our house. And I can tell you, because he shared with me and he is 22 years cancer free now, it gave me hope. It gave us hope because I was able to share and encourage you with his story. So this is something that we can beat, we can defeat, and I couldn't close out this month and not discuss this topic, especially when we're in the month of men's health. So
hold on, before we finish, so I still have to go to the doctor once, at least every 3 months. I have to go to the doctor to continue to do checkup to make sure, because I don't have cancer anymore. I'm cancer free, thank God. But I have to go to ensure that my PSA level doesn't elevate. So every 3 months I have to go.
So follow-up is key,
Right.
is what we're saying, right? And that is just something that is important to continue to monitor, to make sure that everything, and proper nutrition. Gentlemen, start eating right. Healthy diet and exercise does help the body to ward off or fight off anything that attacks it, such as cancer cell. If you like this content, if you like my show, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. We're here to inform, uplift, and to help you live a more rich and fulfilled life. I thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting, and share this video. It could change somebody's life. You've watched Food for Thought with Barbara Cooking-Diva, and